Let's do a quick mic check. All right, sounds pretty good. All right, well, good afternoon, Star Wars fans. Chris Gogolen here, bringing you an upcoming match of the 5th GEMPC. Let's take a quick look at the bracket while we're waiting for the players to get their table set up. See exactly what's been going on here. A lot of upsets. A lot of the top players were eliminated in the early rounds, yours truly included. arebelspy being the #1 overall seed. He's still one of the only top seeds left in the tournament, picking up wins over Tarkin, over Apollyon, and now here in his matchup against killerkiwi, where he will wait for the winner of this game will move on to face Joker King in the top 8. killerkiwi upset Shadow B, who was a top 8 at Worlds this year. Then outmatched Yodad in the second round. Yodad had also pulled off an upset over Coffee Pass. Drew had also been in day 2 of Worlds this year, I believe. So that's how these two players, both from the Pacific Northwest, both familiar with each other, having been at the Endor Grand Prix and some other major tournaments on the West Coast and prior World Championships. Looking a little further down the bracket, Joker King picked off Stubbly. He advanced. Adam Trunzo advanced over Wayne Cullen to move into the top 8. Larry Kraft advanced after picking up wins over Solid Snake, Shaw, and Winston. Winston, who upset former world champion Matt Sokol. So we got Adam Trunzo and Larry Kraft there in the top 8. And then in the bottom half of the bracket, Kyle picked off Dan Kruger. And then we're waiting on the Paul Myers, Matt Lutz game 2. I believe Matt won the first game, I want to say by like 15 or 16, maybe 18. Something like that sounds about right. So they're just waiting to get game 2 scheduled, which probably won't happen until a weeknight at some point late in the evening. Paul's playing schedule is pretty limited. Paul does not play on weekends and does not play usually while his children are awake. So anytime after like 7 a.m. or before like 9 or 10 p.m., Paul's not playing. So it can be a little difficult to schedule games for matchups, especially when you have to play 2 games against him. It can take a little bit of time. So hopefully we'll get that game in the next couple of days. And then we'll have our top 8 set. Players should be they are both in the GEMP lobby, and they indicated to me a 10 a.m. Pacific time start time, so 1 o'clock here. So we're just coming up on that right now. Thank you guys for tuning in this morning, this afternoon, whatever time zone you might happen to be in. And there is the table up. It looks like arebelspy has chosen to play light side first. let's jump into the game here. I am not using the new overlay. To me, it seems still a little choppy, and I have an outdated computer to begin with, so trying to do extra things. Map versus watch your step. This should get interesting quick. Yeah, so trying to do extra things with it. I'm just assuming it's going to lag out. I mean, I can't even run OBS and Twitch on the computer at the same time. I have to use Twitch on my laptop and keep that off to the side next to me. So one of these days I will get around to upgrading that. The biggest thing that is really stopping me, it's not buying the new computer. That's the easy part. It's backing up all the files that I have on my current one, you know, that I really like and I want to keep around that have prevented me from doing that. And then, of course, the obvious answer is, well, just buy the new components. You know, buy a new motherboard, buy all the other, and then just build it. And then I could do that too, but that also takes time. So, all right. So we've got an interesting map start here because we're starting with, I will finish what you started, which is our typical get Kylo his lightsaber and stack some cards here, map card. Bow to get all your use pile pulls. But then we've got this, there are many hunting you now, which lets you stack hatred cards on people present with your inquisitors. So, you know, map has some character restrictions. You can't play any non-Episode 7 Dark Jedi, but you can still play the Inquisitors, because they're all ability 5, I think. So, yeah, I would think Luke would have to be the agent here. Let's scroll up here and just confirm. Luke is a resistance agent and loses immunity to attrition. Yeah. And then over on the watch your step side, we've got a fairly typical start here. I must be allowed to speak, to pull the farm, get some use pile pulls, walkling and squadron assignments. Most versions of watch your step currently are running the new episode, well, I guess it's episode 1 era, the solo movie era, Han, who is just an alien, and the new Chewbacca V, who is also just, well, he's an alien and a rebel. So they're not running the extra resistance characters that they could alternate or substitute in place of Luke to be the resistance agent. So if this is Joe's list he played from Worlds, then he's got the episode 7 Luke Last Jedi, who is permanently immune to attrition, who now has no immunity. So we'll see what Joe has to do to play around that. Typically, map has a lighter space package. Usually it's just the finalizer, possibly the shuttle, and maybe like one other ship. Whereas Watch Your Step is known for typically running 3 to 4 matching ships. Depending on which version of it, whether you've got a matching Luke in his ship in space, but it's usually Han and the Falcon, Mirax, Wedge, and the Pulsar Skate, Dash, and the Outrider. Occasionally, you'll see people, if they're going with a more X-Wing heavy version, you'll play Wedge and Red Squadron 1 in like an X-Wing cannon, or Luke and Red 5 and the X-Wing cannon. Usually don't see a lot of Theron Net and Red 10 in the X-Wing cannon, but, I mean, you could. And then possibly the wild card as well, being a 4th ship with a permanent pilot that has some good game techs with smugglers. Brandon took a pretty slow start, really just pulled the sight, dropped a grabber effect, pulled the shields. Sight, grabber, shields, played cold feet, out for the extra shield. Drew a couple cards up to 11, left 5 remaining. So not in a hurry to go too quickly to the ground. Joe's going to counter by playing Corellia from hand, using his objective to get Kessel. And then he's going to draw a large hand as well. So both players getting pretty decent force activation on turn 2. They're both in double digits. Kind of just jumping right into the game, that mid-game section, and they both have pretty large hands. So we'll see who's going to commit their forces and where, and then, you would assume that Watch Your Step, because of I Must Be Allowed to Speak, is going to want to take maximum advantage and put their guys to Tatooine. But honestly, they're just going to go wherever Darkside isn't. So if Darkside commits to Tatooine, Lightside's going to go over here. Now, I don't know if he's got the extra sight. Guys could get stuck here, if some guys go to the cantina, maybe they'll go out here, and then there'll be, that jockeying around, moving back and forth. The Inquisitors are like stand-in Knights of Ren. I guess thematically that's kind of a good storyline point, sure. They didn't really bother exploring that whole Knights of Ren. They mentioned them briefly, like, oh yeah, these are the guys who he got, but not really featured at all much in those movies. Maybe you got to read the books or something. All right, we got an Alert My Star Destroyer from hand. That will allow Brandon to reveal a pilot, get the matching guy, or vice versa. Reveal the ship, get the matching pilot, and deploy them both for -1 each. Certainly makes things a lot cheaper with HUCs and the finalizer. Where's the other guy? Captain Peavy as well, who normally would boost immunity, but there really aren't going to be any resistance characters in this, unless Joe's playing an atypical version or has switched things up. So now the question is where does Brandon want to go first? Sometimes you really want to be the guy deploying cards first. Sometimes you really don't want to be the guy deploying stuff first. All right, so we've got our first Inquisitor in play, and he's going to commit to the Cantina. This is the Grand Inquisitor, original concept by Paul McPherson. Jedi or Padawan just lost, lose a force. If they just move from here, Inquisitors can follow. So the Inquisitor is going to go down to the Cantina by himself. And we've got a 9. He drew up to 12 and saved 9. Now, he could certainly have things that react, or certainly have things that, stunning leaders or whatever to cancel battles. Joe's going to look for something that's not there, because he has both systems accounted for already, Corellia being on the table and Kessel already being in his hand. And we'll see where Joe wants to commit. Now, with Alert My Star Destroyer, there's a strong possibility that there is a third ship in the deck. I may not be playing the shuttle at all, so it may just be Chimera and Grand Admiral Thrawn. Couldn't think of the name of the ship. I kept wanting to say Conquest, but I knew that was wrong. All right, so there's our Pulsar Skate. There's the Mirax. That's really what Joe was looking for when he did the search. See which combinations of people were available. And we'll see if he wants to flip this turn. Not really cutting any activation. He, reduce 1 from Starkiller base, but that's not really going to do a whole lot to Brandon. He's going to put the projection on the Cantina. All right. Would have expected him certainly to have something by now with 16 cards in hand, whether it's projection being a possibility. something else that does get pulled by Wackling. You also have the It's a Hit, control tunnel vision combos to cancel force drains, so watch your step known for having multiple ways of mitigating damage, usually. And even sometimes other random things like Lost in the Wilderness, or It Could Be Worse, or stuff like that. It's an interior site, so obviously you can't play the Lost in the Wilderness, but you know, certainly random things like that do creep into Watch Your Step decks, especially because you can get multiple uses out of them with the objective text. Alright, there's Theranet. So now we've got two smugglers together, and the ship is protected from weapons. Hasn't used Mirax's game text yet. That's still a possibility for him if he wants to put a card back to draw a card. Hey, right on cue. It's like he heard me. Oh, no, he's just drawn. He's going to pull the battle plan to make him pay for the drain of 1 in the Cantina. And draws even more cards, up to a hand size of 19 now. And of course, all the errata that was spoiled on this week's Hollow Theater show is not in effect yet. So these guys are playing with the standard card pool still. No official release date for that has been announced. Obviously, you can check out the previous stream here on Twitch. The spoilers were also posted on the PC forums as well. And there does come the finalizer. So he gets the other Starkiller base site out, and in doing so also verifies which pilots are in his deck. And we are going to get Hux to Tatooine with the finalizer, which will draw out a barrier. It costs him 12 to put it there because the finalizer is expensive when it is not going to a non-episode 7 system. When it is not going to an episode 7 system. Normally it's deploy -4 to your system or to Jakku or any of those other episode 7 systems, but so it's immune to less than 5, but when he deploys Hux, he gets to trigger Bow, which is the same thing as I Must Be Allowed to Speak, where once per game he gets to take a card into hand. However, it does not have any type of, it just has to be a battleground. It's not limited to Tatooine like I Must Be Allowed to Speak is. So it's a little more open-ended, even though the balance out the fact that the characters that let you draw cards have less universal appeal. Good balance there. Yeah, the finalizer to Tatooine certainly a bit risky. Obviously, the dark side text on Tatooine, he doesn't have either of those types of ships, so he can't draw more than 1 Battle Destiny there. So he can't, put an Admiral or 2, put Thrawn on there, play an Imperial Command if he gets PV out or something to get extra Destiny to churn through a lot of these smugglers that have high forfeits. Between their natural forfeits all being 4 or 5, they get +2 from the objective, possibly +2 more from Talon Card. You start throwing guys like Theranet away for 8. Certainly soaks up a lot of damage, and if you're only drawing 1 Destiny at a time, that's usually not going to go too well for you. On the other hand, if he's not running his own system or doesn't have easy access to his own system, you don't want to put it at Corellia because you don't want it to get stuck down there. And then we're going going to see a couple of troopers so he can flip. And Joe wisely has not put Kessel out yet, so it was either hold it all and possibly wait to pay for it later, or do what he just did here and kind of squeeze it out. So in order to flip, he had to have first order characters controlling 2 battlegrounds, and a resistant agent, who is Luke in this case, not present at a battleground site. So now his first order guys control 2 battlegrounds. He'll obviously consolidate in the move phase, but the question will remain as to what's going to happen here, because this is not a good spot to be in if you're Brandon, unless you've got some type of trick up your sleeve, because Joe could very easily put a smuggler anywhere, flip his objective, and now he's drawing 2 battle destiny. There's a strong possibility he's going to match for another ship, or has matching pilots and ship, to get Dash and the Outrider here, to subtract 6, 8, 9 from the total power, and really kind of just overwhelm this finalizer pretty quickly. And Joe will use his objective. Activates 14. They're both getting 14 a turn. Joe's going to deploy Yarna. 13 cards, less than 13 in hand. Don't have to worry about that for a while because Joe's got a pretty big hand. Once per turn, you can download Arleal, Sergeant Dualin, Tessic, the wild card, or a Tatooine battleground. Very likely he's playing the wild card. Sergeant Dualin is a smuggler, the virtual version, I believe. And the Tatooine battleground, which is what he just did, pulled Mos Eisley, so now he can do the Cantina Shuffle. And there is Dash and the Outrider, as expected. And there's the Imperial Barrier. We'll see if that gets through or if it gets canceled. It does get through. Now, Starkiller Base over here is at Parsec 1, so the finalizer can't go anywhere. It's only hyperspeed 3. If you're Joe, you kind of got this guy right where you want him, stuck in front of 2 of your best ships. Yep, definitely a good way to get that wild card out. And get your Mos Eisley out, too. Cantina Shuffle. Probably playing Tatooine Celebration, then. In which case, he wants to be at Tatooine. That may have influenced Brandon's decision if he, was familiar with some of Joe's deck lists and thinks, hey, the list Joe played at Worlds, I believe, had a celebration in it. So if he, needs to contest Tatooine, certainly doesn't want to get stuck at the lower parsec system at the same time. Contesting in space isn't really going to go too well for Brandon, but if he can buy himself some time for a turn or two, get a couple of ground drains in for free, he can at least, start doing some damage here. Force Joe to commit more cards to the table. Patrol crafts. Uh-oh. We got Palace Raiders and Patrol crafts. Where's Brian Fred when you need him? Could be Ham's Blaster. Yeah, it certainly could be Ham's Blaster. And the Admiral's order to bounce him around. So that's going to flip watch your step. For those of you unfamiliar with the Patrol Craft and the Palace Raider, so the Patrol Craft is a transport vehicle. You can add a driver and a passenger. It can move as a react. And that's the Cloud Sectors, which doesn't really come into play. The Palace Raider adds 2 to anything he pilots, but 3 to anything he drives, so it makes that plus 3 power. And when he's driving a transport vehicle, it moves for free, and he adds a battle destiny. So you have these nice 2 ability guys who forfeit for 5 because of the objective, who add a battle destiny. So this is 4 power with a pilot who forfeits for 5, who adds a battle destiny, and they can move as a react, which they also do for free because of the text of the Palace Raider. So, all right. So Brandon, so Joe is going to battle in space. The Outrider is excluded, but he did flip his objective, so he is getting 2 battle destiny here, which he will have to pay for because of the flip side of the map objective. Where you have a first order leader, opponent must first use or lose 1 force to draw a card for battle destiny. So he uses 1, draws Les Lomi, that's a 3. Now he's just hoping to draw greater than at least another 3. Hux only forfeits for 5. He's just going to spin. He's not going to take any chances. So spin has been grabbed, but it's on the free grabber, so he doesn't have to pay for it. So he will substitute a 4, giving him a total of 7. That will kill Hux and the ship. And Phasma draws a destiny of 3. Joe has 3 battle damage, but he's immune to the attrition. He could lose Theranet. He could peel 3 cards. Kind of depends on what he's got going in his hand and what he wants to do. Yeah, he is just going to lose 3 cards. He just pitched a Tatooine Celebration from hand. I'm going to have to go out on a limb and say he had 2 of them in his hand then. And he loses Old Ben from his used pile. It's another good card in this type of setup. Use a force if any of your characters was just forfeited from a Tatooine site. Crazy Wizard. Crazy Wizard. Steps in and revives, returns from Lost Pile, that character back to same site. So it is a remove from Lost Pile situation, so something like Cold Feet does stop that. But then the Palace Raider moves over, so he's going to solidify. Now this is where the cumulative rule comes into play, because these guys are non-uniques, and they're both adding to the same total. They do not each add a Battle Destiny here. But he does still get 3 Battle Destiny because he's got 4 ability to give him the first one. 2 Smugglers give him the second one, and then the Palace Raider adds a 3rd Battle Destiny. Okay, so Brandon had a No Escape, which he will use to get his Finalizer back into hand. So he can possibly try to do something with that again. And has Blast Door controls as well to cancel things like Barrier and Blast the Door Kid. "17 force active for Brandon." He certainly has options in terms of whether he wants to recommit his Finalizer to space, if he wants to spread out on the ground, try to engage these Palace Raiders. You know, 8 power. Three Battle Destiny. Guys who forfeit for 5. Not exactly the easiest thing to work around. The bane of this deck, if you will, is Dengar with Blaster Carbine. These patrol crafts are only maneuver 3. Fairly easy for a guy like Dengar to pick off. P-59 can also target them as well. Dengar also adds a Battle Destiny against the Watch Your Step objective. Okay, so we got our first Inquisitor hit in our second Inquisitor hit in the table. Forgive me. We've got Fifth Brother. Is this the guy who... I forget which ones are which. Characters here may not have their forfeit increased, so he's the one who prevents their forfeits from being boosted. There is also one of the other brothers, or sisters, I think it's Ninth Sister is the one, who if they don't have a character of ability greater than 3, their total battle destiny is reduced to 0. That would certainly be another problem for Watch Your Step to get around, as they have very limited characters that do that. You've got Melas, you've got Kira, you've got Luke, and technically Boshek, I guess you could also play. Obi-Wan as well. You could play. So just a handful of characters that would get around that guy's game text. And now we got a Dr. E and Ponda Baba. 6 power, 6 forfeit. Not bad. The guys in vehicles aren't going to get shot. If he goes after the Raiders, would be good to pull the Wipe Shield. That is also certainly a possibility. The Wipe Them Out shield, if you have a non-unique alien or starfighter in a battle, you can't draw more than 2 battle destiny. So that would limit him from 3 to 2. Lots of 3s and 4s in the deck, so there's a possibility of only drawing, say, 6, and someone like Dr. E getting to live. Oh. So Joe allowed the guy's game text to be canceled because he wasn't afraid, because they do the same thing anyway, and like I said, they're not cumulative. And Brandon opts not to battle and just draws a handful of cards, again stopping at 12. Joe's going to play his first Control Tunnel Vision with 18 Force active. He's pretty much going to have his choice of just about any card in his deck at this point that he hasn't seen already. And Brandon debating if that's the card he wants to grab or not. And he will not grab it. Okay, so we've got Farm Boy Luke. And he is going to the ground. That will get him a used pile search with I must be allowed to speak. This card lets you get cards with Chewie, Lando, Leia, or Luke to a Tatooine site. And there's Captain Lando. That will get him another used pile search. You can have the whole band here. Well, not Leia. We would think not Leia. I mean, heck, you never know. He could slap Nightfall on Tatooine and drop Bosch or something, and you never know what can happen in a game of Star Wars. There's a Talon card to an adjacent site. Leads me to believe this is where the celebration is going to come out. There is said celebration. We also got a Chewbacca and another use pile pull. So that should be all three. Very unlikely that we would see Leia in this matchup. He's got another patrol craft and another Palace Raider. The other wonderful thing about these Palace Raiders and the patrol crafts is, of course, because they move for free, you can stack everybody up, have a big battle like this, and then he can spread them out to the other Tatooine sites to sort of maximize his retrieval. Brandon does not pull the shield, whether he's saving the shield pull for something else or just didn't think about it or doesn't think it's going to make much of a difference. So Joe will be drawing 3 Destiny here. Starts with a couple of 2s. And a 1. So the 3rd Destiny probably not making much of a difference. 1 extra power either way in terms of attrition. Both guys forfeited for 6, so that's not as big a deal. So Darkside loses the battle by 11. And Lightside will forfeit Lando. And we'll see if he loses both guys or if he chooses to keep Dr. E. Oh, Joe's got to lose another guy because of the guy not protecting the forfeit. He didn't realize that his forfeit wasn't boosted. And he's going to ask for a revert and see if Brandon will let him go back and lose Chewie instead. Brandon says yes, Joe says never mind. So we'll see which way this plays out. Rug Hug would be a fun Destiny 4 interrupt for Lando to pull. We don't have any like Lando Chewie cards really. Alright, so we're going to play on. And the Palace Raiders are going to spread out. So we've got Luke in a patrol craft at the Lars Moisture Farm, just like in the movies. A patrol craft and a Talon card at the Tatooine Mos Eisley. And Docking Bay 94 has a Palace Raider and a patrol craft. Celebration is out, potentially meaning 3 retrieval for Lightside. They're not paying to drain either. We've seen this version of Watch Your Step also with docking bays on Tatooine, using Insurrection as one of your effects and pulling multiple docking bays. That also gives you the benefit of playing the I'll Take the Leader Admiral's Order, which then boosts your force drains at docking bays, makes them +1. So all those drains at the docking bays with the Palace Raiders and the patrol crafts become drain +2, become drains of 2. You've got Docking Bay 94, the Mos Espa Docking Bay, and then sometimes the Spaceport Docking Bay, giving you 3 on Tatooine. You can also play Fallen Portal then as well. That was kind of the old, 2001 version of the deck. Or if you're Brian Fred, the 2015 version of the deck. We'll find Han probably isn't in the deck. Yeah, probably not. I have no idea what that card does. I'm sure it's something with Lando and Chewie together since I just mentioned it, but gonna have to pass on looking that up right now. All right, so Brandon's going to recommit the finalizer to the table with Peavy. This time going a little cheaper. And he's going to the Star Killer base. Knows he can't really contest that Tatooine situation much. So very likely to just move them to Corellia. It would only be a drain of 1, but it does at least satisfy battle plan. There's Snoke. This is a drain +1 if he has a leader there, right? First order leader, drain +1. Yep. Snoke will also get him a used pile pull. This has adds 1 to force drain on episode 7 systems. So not a battleground, but he could drain for 1 there. He's going to move over here. Unless he's got Jakku, if that's what he's just dug for in his used pile. He got plenty of force. He just spent, 16? So he had a very high probability, 80% chance of finding it if it was in his force pile. To get Jakku out, move the finalizer to Jakku. That would give him both an episode 7 system and a battleground. So it would be a drain of 2 there, a drain of 2 here, a drain of 1 in the cantina. So he's at least doing 5 points of damage a turn. Now, of course, his opponent is retrieving 3 of it, so it's not getting him very far. Okay, so the finalizer is going to move over, and the Inquisitor is going to move out to potentially block 1 of the drains. At the docking bay. Talon card could Cantina Shuffle into the Cantina if Joe has any additional characters or whatever in hand to back that up. That would increase his retrieval to 4. Basically retrieving half of his lost, over half of his lost pile. He interrupts his activate phase after 4 to draw the top card of his reserve deck. So if he was tracking something, perhaps something he drew for Battle Destiny, the other control tunnel vision, the Hujix. And we are going to get a revert. I guess he doesn't want to activate all of it. Yep, he's going to activate and leave 3 remaining. He'll do the celebration and retrieval first. So he probably didn't take the control tunnel vision then. There it goes. He gets back Chewie, he gets back Lando, he gets back the control tunnel vision. And he'll use Talon Card to peek at a card in his opponent's hand, and he does reveal the Chimera. Not sure what Dope Hell does for you there. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for watching the game, Scott. Now it makes sense. Mitaka over here, during your deploy phase, use 3 force to relocate Kylo from here to same site as a resistance character. More importantly, it's just giving him enough ability to draw Battle Destiny, because, you know, this guy's got ability 1 and this guy's got ability 2. So that gets him 5 ability, so at least enough to draw. But all those guys are only forfeit, they're all forfeit 3 apiece, so not exactly the ideal character package to have together. Okay, now we got a Melas to the Cantina. I'm sorry, to the Docking Bay. That will give him 3 Battle Destiny once again. Brandon using his last force on an Imperial Barrier. He just top-decked one of those to the Force Drains. He lost a Barrier, he lost a Cold Feet, he lost Enter the Bureaucrat. So Melas will get barriered and will not be able to battle the Inquisitor. It would not surprise me at all to see if Joe has something like Menace Fades in this deck too, because you are trying very hard to occupy battleground sites and systems, and you're trying to mitigate damage and retrieve it with Celebration, something that turns off Force Drain bonuses like Menace Fades. Is something that you would probably expect to see. It's a potential card, we'll call it. It's got potential in this deck. Okay, we got Kira joining Dash on the Outrider. Thank you for renewing your subscription. 22 months now. Thank you very much, Mr. Lingrell. Joe deploys Kira and then changes his mind and asks for another revert. What are you doing, Joe? Alright, so Kira is not going to be on the Outrider. Kira is going to the Jakku village. So what do we think? He took the Hujix. That was the card he tracked. The Hujix out of nowhere combo. Okay, Darkside will do drains of 1, 2, and 1 this turn. And the Grand Inquisitor will first try to cancel the Palace Raiders game text, which Joe will allow. So 3 power subtracted from the battle. The ability to add a Battle Destiny also subtracted from the battle. Now the other Palace Raiders do move as reacts, so if the Grand Inquisitor were to initiate a battle there, he could easily just react one of the other patrol crafts over and get that extra destiny again. Okay, so the drain for 1 at Corellia gets an out of commission combo. The drain in the Cantina is canceled by the It's a Hit, which Brandon grabs. And now that he's grabbed that annoying card, Control Tunnel Vision will be played to cancel the Force Drain with Snoke, which will then get retrieved with the Celebration. Yeah, since we didn't really see the shuttle, it's probably not the OG Kylo Ren, more likely to be the Kylo with the saber. Gonna check those destinies, see what he's got floating around in there first. Certainly have some options here. Brandon with 7 cards in hand, 15 force. If he has multiple characters that can draw battle destiny, being able to cover and initiate battles at multiple sites is one way to get around the reacting situation. Because, guys can only participate in 1 battle a turn. So Thrawn's going to go to the ground. That's one guy who draws by himself, but he's going to the, well, we'll call it the weaker site. Excuse me. Classic lateral damage overwhelm situation. Yeah, that was something that map certainly did pretty well in its original heyday, to get around things like a stacked up Tantive 4 and whatnot. Just lateral damage overwhelmed. Not a lot of people playing that Starship Levitation combo these days. Conversely, not a lot of people playing lateral damage and overwhelmed these days, so... Okay, looks like some people are going to move out of the Cantina. And again, Thrawn just blocking the drain. Certainly in a rough spot if you're Brandon, because your natural instinct, of course, is you want to try and kill your opponent's characters and get them off the table. But if he's got 3 guaranteed retrieval every turn, any characters you kill on your turn, he just retrieves on his turn. So, if you're in a situation where you're thinking to yourself, maybe I'm not going to win this game, and it doesn't look good right now. The more my cards I force my opponent to put on the table or keep on the table, obviously the less that's in his life force for going into game 2, which I don't know when game 2 will be. We have not seen a Kylo yet. Kira certainly could have had a dodge to move to the 1-0 as well. And we don't know if Brandon has like a Lana combo or something to stop that. But he will just draw a handful of cards back up. All right, so everybody moves. The little guys all move out to the docking bay. The Inquisitor moves back into the Cantina. And the Palace Raider gets his game text back. Joe does only have 3 cards in hand, but he has not used the objective yet, so, he could activate most of his force, which he does, play that Control Tunnel Vision from his Lost Pile to go get basically any card in his deck he wants. He retrieved Chewie, he retrieved Lando. You could get them both back, either one of them back into hand. Yep. Or a different character if he prefers. course, the other way to shut off the retrieval would be to kill Luke, because unless BB-8 on table, opponent's force retrieval is canceled. It's on the flip side of the objective. So if you were able to get back to the 7 side and get Luke off the table, which is how you'd get back to the 7 side, watch your steps not running BB-8, so that would shut off the celebration retrieval. But that is certainly a tall order. The other thing that playing that control tunnel vision does is when Joe does retrieve cards, he's not putting a 1 back in his deck. So he'll put some, at least potentially a higher destiny card or 2. Yeah, there's an old Ben in the lost pile already that we've seen. So obviously he could play that to revive Luke. The Cold Feet is now in Brandon's lost pile, being a potential answer for that, for the old Ben. Certainly a good matchup call by Joe. He will move Talon card using the Cantina Shuffle, and he will set up 4 retrieval. So he's basically going to retrieve everything in his lost pile now. So now the old Ben's gone. He gets the out of commission, he gets the old Ben, he gets the celebration, he gets a second out of commission combo. And now he will do 3 damage from force draining. Spectre from hand, a sniper off the top of the deck, and a Lieutenant Mitaka from the deck. Talon peeks at a random card and reveals a Gick combo. That would also cancel reacts like dodge. Joe's going to reveal Leslomi with squadron assignments. Leslomi does not have a matching ship, but it doesn't stop you from looking for one. Alright, so Leslomi's going to the Cantina. Really just checking out what those 2 Destiny are. Seeing if there's anything good. Making sure there's something good there, I guess. Because he didn't really have anything to put back with Mirax the turn before, so... There goes Kessel. Wedge on the Outrider now. Thrawn's on the ground, so Chimera is certainly far less frightening. And we will get a battle in the Cantina. 5 power, 2 battle destiny, taking on 5 power, 1 battle destiny. We assume Leslomi's going to end up dying here. He's going to forfeit for 7. And that total of 5 is good enough. Grand Inquisitor's immune to less than 4, I believe. Yep. Brandon also draws a 4. So Talon's left by himself. Talon already moved this turn, so he can't move away. You can certainly see Melas slide over, the patrol craft to move away. Just give up the docking bay. Could also just stay at the docking bay because you're not really overly worried about it. You've got 2 reacting ships that move for free. You can just block the drain of 1. Even if another Inquisitor comes down and cancels that Palace Raider's game text, just reacts one of the other Palace Raiders over to get it back. Brandon did pull the wipe shields, as we were talking about earlier. While opponent has a non-unique alien or non-unique starfighter in battle, they can't draw more than 2. Now we know Brandon's got the GIC combo, which does cancel 1 react. Yep. And he will just move. He's going to move that guy all the way over to Luke. He certainly realizes his position is a little vulnerable right here. He does move the Outrider to Kessel to boost that his damage output, kind of speed things up a little bit. But this would be a turn when Luke is likely vulnerable. With Joe having just that 1 card left in his hand, he just drew a couple, so that certainly helps. But yeah, if you were Brandon and you had anything to really make a move, anything with a weapon that you could target Luke, this is potentially your only opportunity, or your best opportunity, the best one you're going to get, I guess. You got 11 power, 2 battle destiny, and obviously those guys forfeit for quite a bit. It would really come down to whether or not you can hit Luke with something, be it a P-59 or an EPP Kylo. Brandon's got a force push. Okay. So he left 4 back. He activates 14. So he's going to pick the best card out of his force pile. Put 2 from hand in there in its place, giving him 15 force when all is said and done, with which to deploy. Yeah, good point, Silverglen. Of course, yeah, this is the turn, Joe. I mean, he's certainly stretched out on the board, but he might be stretched a little thin here. He does still have his Walkling. If Luke were to die, he can't retrieve if the objective flips. But yeah, if he picked up an old Ben or had another one in hand, I don't know. His hand went down to 1 card, so pretty likely that 1 card was the Hujix out of nowhere combo. Could have been a dodge or something too. The dodge would certainly help lower weapon destinies as well to keep him from getting hit. But Brandon with 19 cards down, 8 in hand, 25 minutes on his clock. Joe with 18 cards down, 5 in hand, and also 25 minutes on his clock. Drain for 1 at Corellia. He will top deck the Millennium Falcon. Drain for 2 with Snoke. Gets canceled by the control tunnel vision. Then we have a drain of 1 at the docking bay, which he could react to with the patrol crafts, but he will choose not to. Okay, there's that EPP Mara. We said he would need a guy with a weapon. And there's the 9th sister. If he's got the sniper dark strike, and Joe doesn't have like a dodge or something, this could potentially get very interesting. While at a site, opponent's character ability greater than 3 here resets their battle destiny, their total destiny to 0. So if you were to hit Luke, sniper to take him out of the battle, now he's getting 0 battle destiny instead of 3. Well, 2, limited by the wipe shield. Well, let me rephrase that. He's drawing them. The total is just reduced to 0. Very much like Zuckuss does. Does he have a second Dr. E? Does he have a sniper? What are we talking about here? He does stack the force push just to cancel a Palace Raiders game text, which Joe does allow. Okay. Joe tries to react the patrol craft from Mos Eisley over. Brandon does play the Lana combo to cancel the react. He's going to deploy a patrol craft as a react. For his 1 force. Brandon's going to play his Gick combo to cancel that react. Now we'll get some weapon swings. It's a 4 and a 2 at Luke. Luke will be hit. It's got to be a sniper here, or this is all for naught. It's not all for naught. All right. Does not have the sniper. He will add a destiny with far more frightening than death, because he has an Inquisitor present with a guy with a hatred card on him. Inquisitor in battle with a Jedi Padawan or hatred card, add a battle destiny. So he draws a Kylo for battle destiny and an Imperial barrier. So he's got a total of 5. He does not get rid of Luke, though, so these 2 destiny will stick and are very likely to get rid of Mara. Ooh. I think you still have to get rid of Mara here. You have to find out if Joe has another copy of Luke and those 4 cards in his hand. Because Malos is on the table and Kira's on the table. And it's got to be a guy with ability greater than 3. Can't imagine he's running Boshek. So there's really nobody else left. Unless he's got another copy of Luke. That will flip. That will shut down the retrieval for this following turn, so this damage is going to stick. Can't Wackling him back. Can't Celebration him back. And that is certainly going to buy Brandon some breathing room. And now he'll move his First Order squad back into the Cantina to block the drain of 2. On the other hand, not having to pay for retrieval frees Joe up to do some other things with this turn. He might draw a few more cards. He may be able to commit more cards to the table from what he does have, or play interrupts from his lost pile, or save force to play interrupts from his lost pile on the following turn. Obi-Wan-V would certainly be a big get to swap 2 cards from hand to get Luke back, to then redeploy Luke. That would kind of be like a big, well, I was going to say kick in the taint, but I'll say it anyway. I thought about it for a second, and now it's kind of really what it would be. It's like you spend a couple turns trying to piece that all together, trying to wait for the right opportunity, and you capitalize on it, and then your opponent's like, great, now I'm just going to undo it. Ready, go. He does pull the resistance shield, so he does have multiple battlegrounds, so he'll limit the drain at Kessel to 2. So it'll be a total of 4. I don't think we'll see Joe erroneously try and retrieve and pay for it here. But hey, you never know. Alright. So there goes a Kylo off the top. There goes a Far More Frightening off the top. There goes an Imperial Command off the top. And an Imperial Barrier off the top. So, if my math is correct, that's going to put a Kylo Ren back on top. Talon card reveals a random card from hand and reveals General Grievous. And those guys will wisely shuffle their way out of the Cantina. He does try to retrieve 2. Well, it may be a required. It's a required action. Yeah. It says retrieve. It's not a may retrieve. So if he shifted phases, the system would force him to do it anyway. And then the objective automatically cancels it before you get the option to even pay for it. Alright, he's got a Chewie in hand. And his opponent did just use his Gick combo to cancel a random patrol craft from being deployed. And Luke's right back. But present at a battleground site is what is required. They must be present at a battleground site. And Joe's going to ask for revert number 3. Which Brandon will grant yet again. So he will deploy outside. That will flip the objective back. So he did have another Luke in hand. Whether that's one of the cards he picked up. Joe says something in the chat about he was just testing to see if Luke's piloting icon would let him add to power as a driver, which is not the case. And that's why he asked for the revert. He's like, oh, I just would have disembarked him in the move phase to, to flip the objective back. Yeah, but then when you battle Grand Admiral Thrawn here, you'd have to pay one for each of your battle destinies. So I don't know if the defense's case holds water in that case. Alright, so Thrawn here in a little bit of a predicament. Thrawn forfeits for 7, so it's basically 10 to 9. Light side's drawn 2 battle destiny, dark side's drawn 1. See if these are the same cards he drew last time. Nope, he's got a 7 total here. So Thrawn's currently down 8, minus whatever he draws. The Kylo Ren that we suspected was on top. So this is going to be lose Thrawn and 7 on top of it, unless he has a second Gick. He does have a second Gick. It would have seemed reckless to cancel the react of the patrol craft with, his lone copy of Gick, but to each their own play. Oh, that's true. He's not a first order leader, so he doesn't have to pay. You're right. Joe's surprised in chat that that Brandon had a second Gick, and now he's commenting on the fact that he knows that 2 of the 3 cards in Brandon's hand are the Chimera and General Grievous. And now he's like, what's the 3rd card? Well, perhaps we will see on Brandon's turn what that 3rd card is. We sure know it ain't a Sith Fury, otherwise he would have used it to redraw that Kylo. And it's most definitely not a Kylo, because he would have seen him hit the table already. Joe's guessing... First he guessed a mouse droid. Now he's guessing an Imperial Command. He will stack a card with an Inquisitor. It would be interesting if it was the copy of the card that puts those cards back. Get a few more life force back, right? There are no weapons in Joe's lost pile for Grievous to steal, and unlikely to be in this matchup. Alright, so he will play the Control Tunnel Vision from the lost pile, so there's 2 stacked over there now, canceling that Snoke drain. He lost 1 to the drain at Corellia, which was the moving and attack position from the top. If he wants the top deck, he loses a card from the used pile instead, and it's his 3rd copy of Control Tunnel Vision. And Brandon will verify what's in his reserve deck. Both players will verify what's in Brandon's reserve deck. All right. So Grievous is going to hit the table here. And if that card is Imperial Command, that could certainly be a strong play here. Now this little, oh, hey, we got a Aura Sing. Ninth Sister here, not immune to anything. Grievous is immune to less than 4. Because if this is Leslomi or Elors again, that would only be a 3. But we're also getting an Aura Sing. Only targets characters. We'll see if he likes his chances. Alright, we're going to get a reacting patrol craft over. See if he likes his chances to shoot Luke here. He's only drawn 1 destiny. He would need a 4. It's a Phasma. It's like the 3rd time he's drawn Phasma for Battle Destiny this game. I don't know what his chances were of drawing that. Wouldn't have hit anything, basically, in this situation. Although, I guess maybe he could have shot the empty patrol craft. Is that treated as a defense value of 0 while there's nobody on it? Yeah, it's defense value 0. So he could have shot that if his destiny was terrible. Oh, he can't shoot vehicles. We just covered that. And there's that Kylo for Battle Destiny again. If this wasn't match play, Brandon, out of frustration, would have just scooped his cards and been like, screw this game. I'm not playing anymore. Tired of drawing the same garbage over and over again. Oof. That's a total of 8. So the battle's a tie. And Darkside has to lose 2 characters, and Lightside has to lose the empty patrol craft. Yep. We just covered that. Yep, Brandon will keep Aura there, so at least he has the possibility of getting another shot at Luke. Unlikely that Joe battles in this situation. There's really no need for him to. Nope. Or instead is just going to run away to Mos Eisley. Yep. And this is where Joe loads up on his diff. As much as he can. So he'll pop Walkling here to retrieve 1. During his turn, he'll shuffle one of his 2 guys into the Cantina. Retrieve 3 with Celebration. And then move the other guy over to Consolidate. Then he will drain for 2, 1, 1, and 2, causing 6 damage to Brandon. The mystery card was They're Still Coming Through, which cancels Barrier and retargets Fallen Portal. Yep. Move a guy. Retrieve 3. Gets back control tunnel vision, moving to attack position. Chewbacca consolidates, brings the other guy over. Now he'll do his 6 damage. Since he knows the only card in Brandon's hand is an interrupt, he can certainly spread his Palace Raiders back out. Move one to Mos Eisley to block Aura, move the other one to the docking bay to block that, leave Luke by himself, and just say go. Best case, Brandon can do 3 damage from hand. Brandon's top deck in the Chimera. They're still coming through from his hand. Kylo with lightsaber off the top. Captain Phasma off the top. Joe's got 2 remaining in hand and 18 life force down. Joe does initiate battle in the Cantina. Well, I guess if he's got 2 pretty solid destinies there, and he knows he's going to draw greater than 6, he's going to draw 8. It's going to clear all 3 characters out of the Cantina. Talon Card will die. Malas will get to stay there by himself. He puts more cards in Brandon's lost pile, which for match play certainly comes into play. And it's less guys for him to have to worry about for Brandon to shuffle around to block any of his drains on future turns. Now he's just, trying to maximize his cards in his opponent's lost pile, which is the first tiebreaker. Really starting to pad, see whatever other ways he might have to pad his differential a little bit. But at this point, I expect him to just slide the 2 Palace Raiders to the other sites, kind of lock down the board here. And then he's got a drain of 2, a drain of 1. If he has anything, that 3rd control to cancel this and then lose a card for that one. Or he's just going to move his ship to block it. That also works. Brandon doesn't have anything left in hand. He moves over to block it. He can leave Tatooine uncontested. So now it's just the drain of 2. He'll lose the 2 cards from hand and win by 18. Yeah, Brandon's got 10 left down. Joe's got 18. Joe loses the Hoojix and the Old Ben, were the 2 cards in his hand. Brandon is thinking. Joe's commenting on the fact that he was saving old Ben just in case Luke died one more time. I'm not sure if Brandon's thinking if there's any other way he can do any damage on his turn. Before drawing up, if there's any last things he can do. Hey, if one of those 10 cards in his force pile is limited resources, he can do a couple more damage. As long as it's not the bottom one. We haven't seen that card. I wouldn't expect it to be that card. And Brandon will go into his draw phase and just start drawing cards. Have to go through the motions in match play. Can't just concede the game. I mean, I guess you could say you win by 10 or you win by 18, right? And then, but it's faster than to just draw up and have the game come to its natural resolution. So Joe will win game 1 with light side by 18 force. And he'll have a 20 card advantage on lost piles as well. I don't know if they're going to play game 2 coming up next. Let's see if they discuss it at all. Brandon is asking about playing game 2 now. And we'll see what Joe comes back with. The answer is yes. So they are going to play game 2 now. All right, well, I'm going to take a quick break here, refresh my beverage, and grab a snack because it's well past my lunchtime. And then we'll be back for game 2 whenever they start it. Okay, so we'll see if they get game 2 up and going here. Apologize for the chewing right now while I grab a quick snack. Alright, so we're back here with game number 2. We've got a Rebel Spy playing Set Your Course for Alderaan. He starts Kuat drive yards to pull systems. Combat response to match for matching ties and pilots. Well, matching starfighters and pilots. It also lets ties move, except the scythe ones. And then he started the grabber, which has already grabbed a rescue in the clouds. Brandon's going with HITCO, with Twilight wackling like my father. So both guys kind of playing with a, well, HITCO definitely going to get some eroded cards. Probably potentially a Mustafar or something in here that may get eroded as well. Joe already played a short range and took Saber 1 into hand. He activated. He went to use Set Your Course to go look for the Death Star 2 War Room, or Death Star card, just the War Room, which he missed. So Brandon got to verify his entire deck. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. They basically got to see just about everything, so he knows 80% of what Joe's going to be trying to do this game and what answers he might have for stuff. Yeah, probably not the most interactive matchup. There may be a few exchanges, depending on HITCO's space package and exactly what Joe's ground package looks like. If it's the typical, new mall, maybe like a Sidious or an Emperor kind of Dooku kind of ground package, where it's just using a couple of token guys just to try and satisfy battle plan by hanging out at the docking bay for a turn or two so he doesn't have to pay for drains. We're not going to see a whole lot of interaction. This surprises me. Luke right away to the Ewok village. I mean, obviously it'll move Prophecy and it'll kind of be stuck there. But in my experience with this matchup, usually Luke goes to the docking bay because that's where Darkseid wants to put their guys so they don't take battle damage. So you want the Luke with the weapon here to keep getting rid of. It stops the Emperor from being deployed there. It stops Maul from being deployed there because those guys can't deploy to battlegrounds that are locations of battlegrounds or locations opponent occupies, like that kind of stuff. So it certainly gives you options. Now, perhaps he saw something. Maybe he saw something like a put all sections on alert in Joe's deck, and he's fearful of Luke losing his immunity and getting cleared by, any Tom or Jerry that he throws down. Brandon goes to retrieve his heading from the medical frigate. Joe plays the imbalance combo, which Brandon immediately grabs and then loses a card from used pile, which was just a force he paid to retrieve, which was Padme. Yes, it does also stop Enter the Bureaucrat, because Enter the Bureaucrat only deploys on your opponent's site. So if you take over their docking bay, they can't enter the Bureaucrat. That drain there. I mean, it's only a drain of 2 anyway. I mean, 3 when Prophecy moves, but yeah. So that's usually why I see everybody, in my experience, go Luke to docking bay, but perhaps Brandon has a different approach. Or maybe he's not as familiar with this matchup. I don't know. Hey, there's Maul already. That's a good start for Joe. So he's got Saber 1 plus Baron out at Kashyyyk. He gets his 2-0. He gets Mustafar. He gets the Vader's Castle. So, Yeah, a whole bunch of cards on the table that are in that errata bundle that we just saw. This combo will be going away. That card's gone. She won't be in this deck. This card's gone. So certainly going to be some things changing. I'm going to guess like the first week of March. That would be my guess. Perhaps, hopefully, exactly on March 1st to coincide with the start of the new OCS month. That's going to give them some time to finalize everything, make sure the coding is all updated. It's all been in play testing for a while, so it should relatively be a quick transition once they just get proofing to finalize those last bits of texts. But erratas in set 14 coming soon, TBD. Dark side grabbed Rescue in the Clouds, light side grabbed the Imbalance combo. Presumably they're expecting U3PO and or other undercover spies, and he's going to want to be able to play a Sorry About the Messes to get rid of them. Or Sorry About the Messes to get rid of somebody like Maul. Maul does move to the docking bay. Not necessarily where we usually see them, but given that Brandon only has a 5-card hand, maybe he's feeling, you know, a little gutsy. Luke's here. Yoda's no threat, so it really would just be an EPP Obi or like an EPP Rey or something. That this Maul would be. Brandon realizing that Enter the Bureaucrat would be really bad for him right now. He does get the Drain of 3 off. It's a Sith Fury, a short range combo, and a Force Push that all get top decked. Battle Order is out, so he did pay 3 for that Drain. Maul moving to over does flip the objective back, so that would certainly be a positive of it. That would be a big positive of Maul being there. Plus, again, minimal risk. You know, great, Yoda comes down. That's the other. Rey with lightsaber, that was the concern. Now, if it was, yeah, like again, it was just Yoda. Maul's immune to less than 5, and once per turn he can subtract 1 from a Destiny draw. So he's really immune to less than 6. There's a couple of 6s floating in there, but to blind draw 1 so early, not really a concern. Maul getting killed here by an EPP Rey. Suddenly seems a little less likely. Oh. So he declares at 6.28 is BB-8's Destiny. So even if Maul subtracts 1, that would be 5.28 plus 1 from the first draw is still greater than 6. So BB-8 would still hit. Unless he's got like a dark time or something to also subtract 1. I think Joe's just sitting there going, I can't believe the... Ah, there you go. He's going to close call it, which is also why he grabbed the rescue, to cancel and redraw. Whether he was just... I guess he was debating whether to play it used to do the redraw or whether to subtract. I agree with the playing it used there. Because again, with the first draw being a 1, even a 6, he could subtract 1. Now the 6 for Battle Destiny, on the other hand, Maul subtracts 1 makes it a 5, but he's going to need something else because that's still going to get rid of Darthy Maul. So Maul will die. And Darkseid draws a 4. Which Maul will add 1 to make it a 5. Not that it really does anything, but, you know, he can, so why not? Yep. Definitely has some manipulation there. But unfortunately, it just sort of missed out. So, for losing the battle, he does have to stack a card on I Feel the Conflict, and he stacks a Gravity Shadow from hand. Yet another reason to grab Rescue in the Clouds. if you're playing stuff like Gravity Shadow. So Rey dies, Yoda lives, but Brandon gets to draw a couple of cards here. The two cards in your lost pile are Padme and Rey, not something you really would want to try necessarily to retrieve, because your opponent's just going to stack and put them out of play. Joe gets, both players are activating 15 life force. So Joe will pay to drain for 2 at Kashyyyk. And Brandon top decks an Anakin Skywalker, and I think I can handle myself. You know, obviously that first interaction did not go very well for Joe, but you know, he's going to get himself into a position where he just needs to get his opponent down under 18 life force. You know, HITCO's not a deck that puts a lot of stuff on the table. You know, certainly looking at these drains of 3 and 1 that Brandon's going to be able to do, it's going to take a while for him to really pile on enough damage to, I mean, it's going to add up, but it's going to take multiple turns of that. So if Joe can keep an equal amount of pressure on the other side, draining for 2 at Kashyyyk and 1 at Mustafar, there's an Emperor shuttle right on cue. You know, keep that pressure on, force Brandon to possibly do something in space, or just make him lose more cards. All right, so Joe's just gonna drop the shuttle out there and just hope his opponent didn't have a ship anywhere in that pile. He's going to draw all of his remaining force. He's going to 4-lom a card. And I'm sure it'll be the first thing he does on his opponent's turn as well, will be to 4-lom another card. Short range combo gets a slave 1. There's the drain of 3. Short range combo he just played, plus no escape and Darth Tyrannus, aka Count Dooku. He then peeks at the top 2 cards, looking for something good here, figuring out what he might want to do with this turn. He doesn't have much to deploy. He'll probably pay to drain at the Death Star docking bay, because, you know, why not? And he will go ahead and pay the drain at the docking bay now. Brandon's got 36 left down. Joe's already down to 24, so... Yeah, I'll be curious to see what other sources of damage Joe may have. We've seen in some of the variations of this deck, you've got the TIE weapons and the Imperial artilleries. We've seen things like Voyeur to cause additional force loss, especially with Forlom, where you can kind of track it back around. Light side plays a lot of repeat copies of key interrupts, multiple leaderships, multiple rescue in the clouds, multiple Anakin Skywalkers in a deck like this. So if you can do even just one ping, but sometimes get lucky and get a second ping damage, little things like that might add up just enough to get this under 18. Obviously, also anything he can do to mitigate some damage, if it's with getting a third battleground and getting resistance set up, getting a U-3PO or another undercover spy to stick for a turn or two in front of Luke to block that bigger drain. Enter the Bureaucrat was also mentioned, but that would have been pulled and played by now if he had it. And maybe that first turn verify is what led Brandon to believe I don't have to worry about Enter the Bureaucrat, unless it was, the only chance being if it was in Joe's opening hand. Joe's going to play the Cold Feet to get an Oppressive Enforcement. Brandon's going to draw a couple cards and then put one back with Like My Father. So he's sitting at 32 right now with 11 in hand. Joe's at 24 with 9 in hand. Certainly a good bit behind in this game, but definitely still has some options here. So we'll get the Drain of 2X Chic. Gift to the Mentor from the top. Leia Virtual from the top. And now we'll see what Joe's got to interact with. If he's going back to the docking bay, Yoda doesn't pose a big threat there. Obviously, there's the concern of a second EPP Rey or an EPP Obi-Wan with lightsaber. That could come down and just clear him right back out. Of course, there's always the possibility of using a close call to make sure that they miss again, something like that. All right, so there's a TIE cannon. So we are likely to, and there's a Zuckuss to back up at Mustafar. With the imbalance combo grabbed, anything short of a second grabber is going to let him loop around the 7s. Whether he's got 1 or 2 artilleries to cause additional pings. We'll see Forlom cycle a card back on both sets of turns there. This move also protects Joe's space package. Um, the most common space package that we see in this version of HITCO is the Han Chewie Falcon Virtual. Baron, obviously with the cannon, can shoot that, and Zuckuss prevents it from drawing. It can add a destiny to power still, but it prevents it from. It's going to cancel the battle destiny. Or I'm sorry, it'll reduce the battle destiny to 0 because it's only 5 ability piloting. The other combination we've seen, of course, is the Tantive and the Fly Casual to pull the Tantive. And then you can load it up with pilots like Captain Hera, like Rey, like Anakin. Actually, you can't play Anakin in this deck, but no Padawans. We see that in other versions, though. Other decks. Just Lando Scoundrel, you know, put a Leia and a Padme on it, and or Bail or something, and you know, lots of different ways people load up a Tantive 4. Brandon's going to get his 3rd Battleground site out now with the Death Star, and there's the EPP Obi. So he's going to commit Obi to that site. I'll be honest. I mean, it's a good move in the terms that it puts pressure on your opponent, and it gives yourself another good drain. But you also just sort of open the door a little for him if he has, you know, somebody who's got good Vader, Dooku, somebody, Sith Fury to exchange, an Emperor to get Tyrannus out, to put them back here in front of Yoda. Because the only thing ever going to clear anybody out of here is going to be weapons, usually. Usually. Most of these guys have pretty strong immunity. Lord Sidious, if anybody like that is floating around, you know. He pulls the Goldenrod shield, which will just make the Emperor cost 2 if he gets deployed. I guess just to make Joe have to spend more force. And then he's going to move into draw phase, basically. The other possibility is he moves Yoda into the War Room to try and up his damage output by another force, but again, that's opening the door for your opponent to get a battleground so they don't have to pay to drain. And the biggest advantage that Brandon has going for him right now is that Joe has to pay to drain, and he's draining for less. The instant Joe doesn't have to pay to drain anymore, suddenly things tip a little bit back into... it gives him an opportunity to crawl his way back into the game. Scratch and claw, that's what I meant. Yeah, Tantive would be really scary in this deck because the Tantive's just going to the Death Star. You know, Tantive and anybody as a pilot, just go park at the Death Star and find out what other ships Joe still has left. We know he's got Slave 1 in hand. We saw that earlier. I think there's... Usually it's the pilot Vader, or usually it's Vader and either his TIE or shuttle as another matching combo. But, you know, at this point in time, what if Joe just has pieces of stuff in his hand and he's activating most of his deck? He's going to run into difficulties with stuff like that. Brandon uses the objective, picks a card from his reserve deck, from his lost pile to retrieve, and he opts to choose Anakin Skywalker. Interesting that he would pick that card. Joe's going to let him have it, let him get it back. I say it's interesting that he picks that card of the 5 or 6 because that's one of the cards that he can get once per game. He can retrieve a card with Anakin title into his hand. Okay, so this is the play I mentioned earlier. Uh, Using a Sith Fury to exchange. And it is going to get sensed. He does draw. He drew a solo for Battle Destiny. Okay, that tells us he's not playing Han Chewie and the Falcon. If solo is on the table, so that scary Tantive possibility might be a little bit more real right now. It could just be like a Profundity or a Home 1 or something, but suddenly Tantive seems a little bit more real. Okay. Joe does pay to drain for 2. Brandon top decks a heading for the Medical Frigate and a Yoda Master of the Force. That brings him down to 26. So, and there's an artillery. That'll cause 1 more ping damage. The other interesting thing, of course, about Imperial Artillery and it being a Destiny 7 is that the way he's done it here, Joe can easily track that and activate to it next turn. He paid to drain first, then put it down on top of it, so any force he spends will end up on top of it again, and it will be exactly like 17 cards down. He's got 14 here plus 3, so if any of these he spends, then these go under these, and then he just activates right back down, leaves himself 4. He can deploy somewhere, battle. He can deploy after Luke, draw 7, and get Luke off the table. And there is Lord Sidious. So Sidious is probably who he was going to swap either to get Maul back or possibly Darth Tyrannus. But Sidious is pretty good too because he's completely immune to attrition and he's ability 7. And if he's alone and opponent initiated battle here, you can exclude a character of ability less than 6. So EPP Rey would be the character you would exclude. Or Chewie with Bowcaster or something if this is the version he's playing with the Resistance characters. So with Obi over here and Luke over here, anything short of a Nabrin or Odin combo even in the move phase, he's going to hang out at this docking bay for a while. That's kind of what I was afraid of with this Obi play over to the Death Star 2 site there. Certainly could be Joe's HITCO list from Worlds. I mean, we've seen several HITCO lists that have no ships, of course. Usually you got to have one, though, just to keep them honest, right? He's going to add Tarkin. He's going to add First Strike. Okay, so he's going to try and overwhelm Yoda here. Now, he should know what that card is for Destiny because those would be cards he forlommed back on the previous turns. So this could easily be a 6 or a 7. He's going to retrieve 1 with First Strike. He's going to cause his opponent to lose a card. It's a good battle for Joe. It's a good turn for Joe. He's going to play a Dark Time to activate a force. So he lost the Voyeur. Okay. So he plays a Dark Time to activate a force to get to the card he forlommed back on the previous turn. there's aim high, hitting the table a little late. Joe got to retrieve for free. There's a dark maneuvers for a 6. See what light side draws here. They also draw a 6. Sidious is completely immune. Tarkin's going to go. And now Lightside has to either choose to lose Yoda or peel 3 cards. I'm inclined to peel 3 cards here. Especially because, yep, he's going to dump an Anakin Skywalker from hand. Perimeter scan from hand. And an Odin Nestler first aid combo from hand. So why was I inclined to lose 3 cards from hand? Keep Yoda. So you can battle them. And you can retrieve one of those cards you just lost the first strike. He does have a 3rd battleground now, so he will pull resistance. So it'll be drains of 2 and 2 that Joe's going to have to deal with, but he's just trying to hang on as long as he can. So they both have 6 cards in hand. They both have 35-ish minutes on their clock. Joe has 20 cards left down. Brandon has 25. This game is certainly going to come down to what happens here at the docking bay over the next turn or 2. If Sidious can live and not have to pay to drain for this damage here, it's certainly going to help Joe's case and help him get Brandon under 18 life force, or at least to 18 life force. He also had remember he had a 20 card lead. So, on lost pile counts. So, alright, so we lose a Dark Maneuvers, a Dark Time off the top, a Monarch from hand, a Slave 1 from hand. Alright, so Lando's going to show up. Yeah, the first... Oh, and there's Rey. Alright. So the first strike is a bit of a double-edged sword because, you know, light side's going to battle, cause him to lose 2, and they're going to get to retrieve 1. They're going to have to pay to retrieve that 1. But Sidious is going to exclude Rey here. So he's not going to worry about being hit. Sidious only excludes, though, when they initiate. So he excludes Rey. Lando dies. And then he's got the option, he can battle back and then retrieve. But yeah, the first strike may hurt him more than it helps, but it may also get him into a position where possibly he can do just, 1 or 2 ping battles and cause just enough force loss to get him under 18. So he will exclude the ray, so he doesn't get hit. So now it's just going to be, he doesn't take any battle damage, and Sidious is completely immune to attrition. So he's just going to stack a card on Conflict for losing the battle. Light side's going to lose Lando or Yoda. They have the option of keeping Lando, so then they can retrieve if dark side battles them. You know, it's a weird give and take. Oh, there is a Tantive, and he just drew it for Battle Destiny. Masterful move for Darkside. It's going to put a 6 right where he can easily get to it, so he'll stack a card. Lando will die, predictably. But now, Joe's got himself in a spot where he can easily get to a 6 if he has anything in his hand that he could deploy and do damage with that. If he has a close call or something to subtract to make sure, Ray doesn't hit Sidious, that could certainly go in his favor. So he could battle and retrieve a first strike, and he is going to get the drain for free, so he'll cause 3 damage from that. Brandon's got to be careful here. He only has a few more cards left that he can afford to draw to stay above that magic number. He's got 26 down. He only won by 18, so not much room to play with. And he's going to lose 3 damage this upcoming turn. He does still have Walkling as well. Brandon's going to pick up a couple cards and then put one back with Like My Father. So we've got 24 down, 6 in hand for Brandon, 16 down, 4 in hand for Joe. Oh, Brandon does have the fly casual, so he is going to pick up the Tantive. And we just saw Slave 1 go away. So now it's going to come back to, what does Joe have left? Joe activates 9. And now we'll continue activating down to the Masterful move. There's a Resilience from hand. And a Rescue off the top. There's another Drain of 1. At Mustafar, there's a Luke off the top. There's an Artillery to cause 1 more damage. There's There's a blaster deflection from hand. Alright, so let's get it straight. Joe's definitely not winning this game. His only goal now is to get Brandon to 18 cards or less, because they currently have the same number of cards in loss pile. They both have 17 in their loss pile. And Joe had a 20 card differential on lost pile counts in the game. So the tiebreaker's probably going to go his way. So Brandon's got 4 in hand and 21 left down. He just needs to basically weather the storm for 2 or 3 more turns and just keep doing these little bits of damage that he's doing with, you know, draining what he can in space. You know, even if he takes the first strike damage and he can keep excluding Ray so Sidious keeps living. Oh, that'll certainly change things a little bit. Maybe, and a P59 as well. Okay. I don't know that light side wants to initiate some battles there. Dark side is going to battle, though. And if that's the masterful move on top, and he just pitched the blaster deflection, P59 is going to shoot Ray right in the face. That's going to cause 2 more force loss. So he caused 1 ping with the first strike. There's the hit on Ray. That's going to cause 2 more damage. I think this is going to be just enough. This is going to be enough damage for Joe. I think Joe's going to get him down to about easily going to be able to get him under 18 now with this extra damage. Brandon top decks draw their fire. That would have been a big swing. And a rescue. Ray's got to take her swing here, right? Whoops. All right, so they're going to have to back some of this up. Brandon accidentally hit pass. We'll see if Joe lets him undo it or not. This is going to be weird because now he's going to know what he's going to draw for Destiny if he backs up. All right, so he's not going to. He knows he's going to draw at least a 1. We'll see if he's going to request the revert. Oh, Joe's just going to try and revert for him. Okay. So fix the situation. All right, so we're going to get back here into the middle of the battle. I think we got to do P59 has to shoot again. Yeah, that's not right. They all right, so they screwed this up again. Yep. Feel like we're playing the Benny Hill music here, but we're going to try and get the reverts to get this right. Yeah, ideally, you know, if he's going to revert, you would decline to draw Battle Destiny there. Or, like you said, at least declare in advance, this is who I'm going to be swinging at. So that way, even if you do draw Destiny, because your opponent hasn't consented to the revert. Joe never said in chat, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll fix it after you draw Destiny or whatever." So you like to believe, given the fact you gave him 3 reverts in the first game, that he's going to do the same for you in game number 2. So yeah, so they're fixing it now. They redid it. Ray gets shot, top decks to 2 cards, swings, draws 2 ones, swinging at P59. So those are 2 misses. So there'll be no hit, no retrieval. It's very unlucky given how few ones are probably left in this deck. But also given the fact that Joe only has 1 card left in his hand, that Tantive is certainly going to accelerate things. So P59 goes away. Ray goes away. Yoda's going to stay. Yoda can move to the war room. Cause extra force damage if he wants to go there. Yoda can get shuttled up to the Tantive that's about to come down at the Death Star. Yeah, Joe's got to start moving that Death Star. That's really what it comes down to. Joe's got to move that Death Star to 1 now, so when the Tantive comes next turn, he can move the Death Star to 2 and then move Zuckuss to block the Tantive. Otherwise, he's going to get a free drain in. Yep. There's the Death Star moving to Parsec 1. Brandon's going to pop Walkling here to retrieve 1 while he still can. Yeah, Darkseid can't drain at the docking bay, so that's not an additional point loss. So Yoda can just move away to the war room and potentially get extra damage in that way. But it is the 3rd battleground, and it is stopping him from having to pay to drain. So certainly looks like, at this point, Joe is going to be able to get this game under the 18 that he needs. Yeah, exactly. So it's drains of 2 and 2. For Brandon here. Joe's going to top deck Allegiant General Pride, Emperor Palpatine. He's going to put a card down to pick up the Masterful Move before he has to peel that off the top. So he's protecting some of his high destiny. There goes the Cold Feet and the Boba Fett. Yeah. I think I like Tantive here, shuttle Yoda up. Just in case by some miracle Joe pieces together another ship, you can at least forfeit Yoda to cover any battle damage, potentially. And not have to pay to drain for a turn. If you're trying to speed the game up, I mean, what could he really have left? He's got 2 cards in hand, right? Yeah, you move Yoda over to the war room and make him chase you. But, you know, Brandon's down to 20 cards down. What's the best he can do here? Draw 2. And then he's got to get hit for 3 from the drains. P59 was certainly, I think, the tipping point. That extra 2 force loss kind of just hamstrings Brandon just enough. I mean, it looked like Joe was going to be okay anyway, I think, but I think it certainly gets us to the point in the game where now Brandon's options are so limited that it's really just going to hamstring the way he has to play these last turn or 2. Yep, he'll move Yoda away. He's going to try and maximize his damage at this point and just try and speed this game up. 2, 4, 6, guaranteed. Potentially, I mean, I'm sure Kylo will move over in front of Yoda, right? Brandon's got 20 down, and he's got 2 in hand. So he's got 22 total, and he's going to get hit for 3. It's going to take him to 19. And, you know, if Joe has tracked back or tracks back and picks up his artillery, he causes 1 more ping, and that puts him at 18. And then it's pretty much just, you know, go. Take some damage, do 3 or 4 damage back to your opponent the following turn, and you win. You know, obviously he can move Zuckuss over and block the bigger drain at the Death Star. All kinds of stuff like that too. So looks to me like Joe is going to defy Dan Tartaglione's prediction and get the win in this matchup here. Sorry about the mess from hand. He loses Anakin Skywalker from hand, from reserve deck rather. He's going to use his once per game prophecy to retrieve it, which goes into hand. There's an artillery ping for 1. You can lose that Anakin Skywalker again. Yep. Brandon loses Luke's lightsaber off the top. So he's at 18 exactly left down, plus 1 in hand. Joe's last card is Marek Steel, the Emperor's Reach, which he will deploy in front of Yoda. He will initiate battle. That'll cause 1 more force loss, and he will get to retrieve Boba Fett. There goes the Hujix off the top. 4-LOM will make Yoda 1 power less. He draws a solo for Battle Destiny of a 1. Joe will have to stack a card and then lose Marek Steel. But that first strike does its job. And now Brandon's at exactly 18. Move the Death Star to Parsec 2. Brandon's got nothing in hand, so you know he's not putting a pilot down. So you move Zuckuss over to block. And I think that's checkmate. And Joe can draw a couple cards and look for anything else that he wants to do, because he's not limited in terms of his force loss. So Brandon can drain for 6. That takes Joe from 12 plus 2, 14 total, down to 8 total remaining life force. And that's about it. Then he's out of options. There's nothing left he can do. He can battle Zuckuss. He can cause 1 more force loss and retrieve a card. But then the Tantiv's going to die, and he's going to go back to paying to drain. You know, Brandon can win the game. You just can't win by 18. So Brandon will do his drains of 6. Sith Fury, Emperor Palpatine off the top. Darth Vader, TIE Cannon off the reserve deck, used pile and reserve deck. Chasm Walkway, drain a 2, gets a double back and a dark time for the Rebellion. Joe still has the 2 cards left in his hand. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say one of them is close call. And then he's got 6 cards left in reserve deck. And Brandon has exactly 18 left. So if the game ends with a tie, like it would right now, Joe would win the tiebreaker because of the lost pile count differential from the first game. He will initiate the battle and retrieve the Hujix, causing 1 more force loss. Joe top decks a close call. Now you almost want to say, right, you just pass, just don't draw. he does. He will draw, so you can battle him back next turn and cause the force loss again. But then you lose the battle and have to stack a card. So Tantiv's just going to die. And that will be all she wrote. And one more sequence here. One more exchange. Oh, you guys are welcome for the commentary. Thank you guys very much for tuning in and watching this morning, this afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. It's been a little while since I've been able to do some live commentary of, match play situations, so it's always good for me to get back to my roots. Brandon draws his 1 card, leaving him at 18. Joe's going to cycle a card with the old Forlom, picking up the artillery again to do the 1 extra point of damage. Perhaps. But the drains of 3 will be enough. Blaster deflection from hand, blaster deflection from reserve deck. Odin Nestler combo from reserve deck. Imperial Artillery for 1 more point of damage, taking Brandon down to 15. And Joe's just going to draw a couple of cards. Now he's got 3 cards left down to Brandon's 15. Brandon can afford to pay to drain for the remaining... Well, actually, technically, Joe has 7 cards left, so Joe could live 1 more turn. He could pitch the 4 in hand and the 2 down and keep 1 card left in his reserve deck. That would get him another sequence of drains for 3 more differential. Because Brandon doesn't have anywhere to battle with first strike to trigger that 1 last force loss. So Joe could get this game. Brandon's at what, 15? He could get him down to 12. So he had a little bit of wiggle room on that. So congratulations to Joe Olson on advancing into the top 8 of the GEMPC. Good job by Brandon as well. making it to the top 16 and playing a competitive matchup against the #1 overall seed in the tournament. So, and of course, thank you guys for tuning in to watch the game. Be sure to check out the Slack channel and the forums for other upcoming matches. People have been posting their times. I think we're just waiting on a potential time. Probably, like I said, going to be a weeknight for Game 2 of the Matt Lutz, Paul Myers match. And you guys have a great rest of your weekend.